Hey, everybody, I'm here with Lucy Molina, who's one of my favorite people on the planet. She's got talents in just about every area that I can think of, any of the ones that matter. And of course, she's incredibly good looking. So, but if you need help with taxes, if you need help with the concept of, hey, you know what? Tax preparation is something I should have in my portfolio, which she's going to talk about. This is going to be a really beneficial interview for you. I met her through some mutual friends, and we worked together on literally at a time when the IRS was shifting how they did everything for people who wanted to prepare taxes. They were changing the code on how you got what's called your EFIN, the electronic filing identification. We screamed and she screamed about, hey, you all going to need to get your paperwork in because it's all going to change. This was in August of 22. Not a lot of people listened. We gathered all that we could. And now everybody's kind of in bad shape and have been. And if you didn't get it in there, you missed this tax season in 2023. So she's sort of a prophet. She's a seer, and she's a lot of fun. So Lucy, thanks for being with us here on the Finance Rebellion.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark, for having me. You know, it's always a pleasure, to spend time with you and, of course, talk about some of my favorite subjects, which is the tax industry and finance. So a little background about me, guys. I actually started in the tax industry about 10 years ago. At that time, I was very, very educated. I had a career, but I was not happy in my career. I was in the social slave system. I was working 9 to 5 and consistently was broke. And I was like, wow, I need to do something different. And what is something that everyone needs in America? They need to do their taxes. So at that point, I learned everything I could about how to open up a tax business. At that point, I actually wasn't even interested in doing the taxes themselves. If Mark might expound on this, but what I focus on is scaling businesses. How can we take this business and make money while you sleep? I knew that I could take this model and do exactly that. And that's what I did. So in my first year, I made 50 grand in 3 months. That was the most money I ever made in my life. I wound up leaving my dead-end job, my dead-end partner at the time, took my 2 kids. I bought my first house in Atlanta, and I just wind up just growing every single year, becoming more successful. I've always done better than the previous year. And that's how, when I talk to my team, I'm like, hey, how do you measure growth? Did you do better than last year? Even if it's 1%, even if it's 2%. So I don't really care. You don't have to have these big margins. I just want you to do better. And if you become educated in this industry, if you bring good value, if you have solid advice, your business will grow. So that is basically when I'm talking to people on my social media, I'm like, find a way to make money while you sleep, because our money is being devalued every single day.
Every day.
Every single day. It is not enough to make 6 figures anymore. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, making 6 figures was enough. I need 6 figures just to get groceries. Just to get groceries and do regular people stuff, and definitely with my current lifestyle, I need to make way more than that. So yes, I just love this industry so very much. Especially when I get to work with guys like Mark, who specialize in corporation taxes. I specialize in individual. And this one thing I could say about individual taxes, guys, is remember this. Just because you run out and get an LLC, it does not mean it's going to save you money. Can I say that again?
Say it again.
Just because you have an LLC does not mean it's going to save you money on your taxes.
Thank you.
I cannot tell you how many times a client comes to me and they're like, okay, well, I have all these business receipts. I have this and that, and I have an LLC and an EIN. And I'm like, okay, you do know that you're taxed the same, right? If you're a single member LLC or whether you're a sole proprietor, you're still paying the same amount of taxes. So please, guys, stop getting 10, 11 LLCs thinking it's going to save you money. Use it for, to build business credit, open up a business bank account, get some credit cards, they'll do that kind of stuff. But if you think that, okay, getting an LLC is going to magically reduce my tax rate by 20 or 30%. I want to snap you out of that fantasy land because I am sick of it. And then they're disappointed. They're like, well, that didn't save me that much money. And I'm like, yeah, it's just a pass through. Like, I didn't know what you thought that was going to do. But in schools here, especially in the public school system, they do not teach us about finance. So you have adults who are graduating every year. I tell people in this industry, there is no shortage of clients, and there will be no shortage of clients who need help because of our education system. Every year, a new client graduates from high school for me. And in the school, they don't teach them about taxes. They don't teach them about home ownership. They don't teach them how to, not so much, of course, I would say tax evasion is illegal, but tax avoidance is totally legal. They don't teach them how to, exploit the tax system to their benefit. So you have full adults who have six-figure jobs, have their own businesses. They think they're doing the right thing, and they're just setting themselves up for failure. So what happens? They get a scary letter from the IRS, and then they're calling Mark. Hey, I'm in debt for $100,000. What do I do?
And they're calling me after they'd gotten 6 letters from the IRS because they're like, oh, no, I'll just throw it away. It'll go away.
Yeah, it'll go away. It's not going to go away because once you get that first letter, you need to be proactive right then and there to basically avoid as much damage as possible. So if you are listening, if you're watching this, you're listening to this, if you want a career where you have unlimited clients, unlimited work.
And it's growing every year?
It's growing every single year. This is it. I'm not going to say it's the sexiest profession, but hey, I don't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and get in my car and go to work. I am right now talk to you from my guest house. I get to set my own hours. I get to work with who I want to work with. And with this industry, you could also build a team. I see people selling diet teas and I'm like, why are you selling diet tea? You can literally just get your EFIN, get some software. And also, guys, if you need software, contact me or Mark. We can get you software and we can get you that training. If you're under our team, then we'll teach you everything you need to know to be successful in this industry as well. Just putting that out there. But yeah, you can build a team and you can help people achieve financial independence with a product that everybody needs. I mean, Mark, who doesn't do taxes in this country?
People that are going to jail soon.
Yeah, I would say the super, super low income.
Right.
If they're getting TANF, no shade, do what you need to do. Or like if you're very, very elderly and you're not making any money. But everyone else, I mean, even child stars have to do taxes.
Yeah, you especially.
Yeah. So it's something
tell me about one of the powerful things you told me was when you were explaining why tax preparation is something that everybody should have in their, as part of their portfolio. Mm-hmm. I don't think people realize if, let's say I graduated from high school and I'm good with numbers and I like economy, all that stuff. And I'm like, I want to prepare taxes. I think I can do that. I like it. Mm-hmm. What happens when they go to work for H&R Block, and why is that no good versus what, let's say, working for Tax Ghost gives you?
All right. So I have personal experience with this. So just because it's a corporation, let's say H&R Block, I hope they don't try to do a cease and desist with me.
They can't say a cease and desist. It's a public forum.
H&R Block. Okay, let's go at it. H&R Block, Liberty Tax, Jackson Hewitt. Let me tell you, I was trained by the protege of Jackson Hewitt. I know every dirty trick there is. Personally, I was taught by this person who wound up actually getting me too. So just because it has a brick and mortar location and it has people working in there and it has a Keurig coffee machine does not mean they actually know what they're doing. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and I've said, okay, well, bring me your taxes. Oh, I went to H&R Block and she was so nice. And then when I looked at the taxes, I'm like, what the heck did they do? They screwed you. They screwed you over. These people who work at H&R Block, my 12-year-old could do taxes better than that.
Oof.
They put them through these fast track classes. They teach them the basics. And then, so you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this. It's like name recognition. You know, we buy Louis Vuitton, we buy Dooney and Burke because we think that the quality is going to be higher. And then when you get the handbag, it's canvas. So you're going into H&R Block, you go into these places that look really, really snazzy, but they can't help you. How many, of course, I can't get no answer back, but I know Mark can answer me. How many accountants do you know can do crypto taxes?
2 out of a lot.
That's why I tell people about 99.9% of accountants that I run into can't do it. And that's why I think one of our mutual friends, she had someone who needed some taxes done. And she's like, well, I don't have time. And I said, just tell them to wait till June. I said, because guess what? No one even knows how to do it. This client went to H&R Block and said, hey, I have trades from Robinhood. I have trades from Coinbase. And she's thinking I'm going to get taken care of. And they turned her away.
Of course they did.
So if you're listening to this and you want to get into a niche in this industry, you need to look at crypto taxes. And TaxGhost is the only service bureau in the country who specializes in it. So if you wanted any type of, if you was looking for that, like, okay, how is she going to push me over the edge? That is it. Not only are we competent in individual and corporate taxation, but we were the first and now the only ones who even can teach about crypto taxation effectively. There's some crypto tax training on the internet. I've even went to physical training, and they talk a good game until they get to that 8862. Then it just like, doop right over it. And I'm like, oh no, wait. No, I need you to pull up the trades. I need you to see, how do you do it? And in the end, I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, they don't know how to do it. I paid $2,000 for a training, guys, for nothing. I went all the way there, and they couldn't even do it. And these are CPAs.
Right. No.
And that's when I was like, all right, these, just because someone has a title does not mean that they're talented. So that's why what me and Mark are doing is just so revolutionary in this industry. You're definitely going to look back in time and be like, wow, they were talking about this, and now this is happening, for regular people or are having, when I say regular, like, someone who's a cashier at the grocery store, they're getting paid in Bitcoin, and, crypto is not dead. It's in Biden's Build Back America plan. It's clearly in there, about the digital dollar. And what happened? What was it? Fed now?
The Fed?
Yeah. The digital dollar. They were talking
CBDC?
about. Yeah. That happened this year. Yeah, so it's happening, guys. Don't think that we're going to stay in this little bubble. One thing technology is going to do is going to keep advancing. And it is your job to stay ahead of it. Everyone who stays ahead of the technology is going to get rich. And you know who's really going to get rich? People who know how to educate about it. Right. So if you're looking for a niche in this industry where you're like, okay, I really don't want to do taxes, just build a team and teach your team. And I'll guarantee you'll make 6 figures from home doing that.
So tell me about, so the high school grad, back to that, they want to be an accountant and they know Liberty Tax, they know H&R Block. Tell everybody, like, what is that out of high school student who really gets taxes, understands them, starts to work as an accountant doing taxes at H&R Block. What don't they tell you at H&R Block?
All right. So let's say fresh high school grad, interested in taxes, doing the right thing. Look, I'm going to go get hired at H&R Block. The first thing to do is brainwash you off the gate. They put you through their education. They tell you why it's so great to work with them while we're doing this. They may even pressure you to get an EFIN. And then they lock you into a contract to say that it's a non-compete contract so that you can't work at other tax businesses. But they get an EFIN for a more malicious reason. They make you get an EFIN and they say, well, okay, well now, Jane Doe, you got an EFIN. You're 19 years old. You haven't had this much responsibility in your life. And they run all their little funny clients through your EFIN. So if something goes wrong, they're not liable. You are, because you're the EFIN holder and you were the manager at that location. So you were supposed to be checking all those client returns. And that is probably one of the main ways how people lose access to become an electronic return originator, which is, the EFIN. So yeah, they don't tell you that. They just make it seem like they're doing you a favor by paying you $15 an hour by getting the EFIN and becoming a manager. Also, the education, it will teach you the basics, but it doesn't teach you how to navigate it. There's a reason why there are tax lawyers, because there is so much information. It is impossible to remember it all. There's a reason why a tax attorney has a paralegal. It's just too much. Okay, I have this case. Go get me some precedents to see how I'm gonna win this. How I'll win this case. It is just too much. So imagine skipping out on education at a place like Liberty Tax or H&R Block. Do you think that 18 or 19-year-old is really getting a high quality education? They're doing at most they're doing a W-2 education credit, and at most a Schedule C. And so then they do a Schedule C on everybody. Everybody gets the same treatment. This is just a Schedule C, which if you're not an accountant on this call or you're a client, Schedule C is a profit or loss statement. So obviously the education going into a franchise would be mediocre.
And so isn't there also, if they don't give you an EFIN and a client comes in and they're like, okay, well, we're going to charge you $250 to do tax. How much of that does that out of high school grad get?
Oh, if you're working, if I'm a high school grad working at H&R Block or Liberty,
like I bring my client and you're going to come work for me because I have a non-compete. I can't do it on the side. I have to do it through H&R Block. They would pay me $250. How much of that am I making?
Oh, they're just going to pay by the hour, just $10 an hour, because it'll take about an hour to do it. It's going to be
so if it took me 2 hours, I'm making $20. Mm-hmm. And H&R Block's
not including the taxes they take out. And so, but see, as an EFIN holder with your own tax business, if you charge $500, you make $500. Right. They don't want to tell you that. I can't tell you how many accountants that I've helped do the EFIN process, getting their own tax business, and they didn't even know what an EFIN was. I had no idea. And I'm like, you're almost 50 years old. Like, how do you not know what that is? And they're like, oh, I didn't know that I could do that. And just like that, they went from making $20-some thousand a year to making six figures instantly because they get to keep all of their money and build a team.
And that's what we're talking about when you say, hey, everybody should have tax preparation in their portfolio. We're not saying you should go work for H&R Block.
No, I'm saying portfolio, in your portfolio, let's say you have Turo, let's say you have Airbnb, you have you're making passive income. You definitely should have a tax preparation business in there, because the beauty about a tax preparation business is that you don't have to be a tax preparer to have a tax preparation business. All you have to have is tax preparers underneath your company, and they can work anywhere in the world. You don't need a physical location. It's not a big startup cost. All you have to do is just follow some rules. If you could follow some rules, keep your paperwork correct, or get an assistant to do that for you, you'll make money. It's all about leveraging talent. You go find the talent, have them work with you, give them a large portion of the cut. I always pay people more than what a corporation to pay them. if H&R Block is paying, they'll pay an EA, an enrolled agent, $15 an hour. I was like, I'll just say, hey, keep 70% of the money. So if you charge $1,000, because in most states you could charge up to $999 for tax preparation. Let's say if you're doing a really, really hard case, not saying that's the norm, guys, just use an example. So if I say, hey, you keep 70% of your money out of $1,000, they just made $700 in 1 hour. And then I'm like, okay, I see you did well. You want to open up your own tax business? They're like, of course, yeah. Some people actually tell me no, surprisingly, because they're like, no, I'm just comfortable. I just keep working with you. So now I help them get their EFIN. They have their own software. They could build their team and do the same thing I did with them. Mm-hmm. You see how that works?
Yeah.
So they're making money with their clients. Then they have accountants, and they're getting a percentage of those clients as well. And that is how you make money while you sleep. You get up, you check your bank account. You're like, oh wow, $5,000 just hit, just like that. You will get used to the money hitting like that. But you definitely have to change your mindset about it. So, if any accountants are watching this, I know a lot of people are like, what's this girl talking about? But, the numbers don't lie. The numbers do not lie. I know so many smart accountants who are broke. I know a lot. And it always confuses me because I'm like, you're so smart. You have so much education. Why you're not leveraging it? But I think it's because there's a lot of brainwashing that they go through working for like these corporations like H&R Block, and they're scared. They're like, well, I signed this contract. I'm like, honey, that was 10 years ago. Move on. I was with them last year. I say, you know what, Mark, have you heard of H&R Block or Liberty Tax taking any preparer to court for working for competition?
No, because if they did, then what would come out is how they're treating their employees.
Yeah. So that's why I was like, I try to tell them, I'm like, I haven't heard of them actually enforcing it. I was like, cause that's like, to me, it's like modern day slavery. Like you're saying that I'm a 1099 contractor and I can't go work somewhere else, open up my own business. So if you want to become rich, if you want to make a lot of money, the change is going to start here. You got to be like, hey, this is what I want to do. This sounds like a good path. And then you got to act on it.
Beautiful. So speaking of that, you said earlier, you grew up, it wasn't great, but something changed. Mm-hmm. And you were like, then I said, I'm going to do something different. What changed in you? Life was going along and then something clicked. What was that? What did it mean? And how did you know to take some of the paths? What was your direction? How did you know to find direction?
That's a great question. And this is one I answer a lot. And I'm going to break it down to my sequential logic. They don't teach us that. I can't speak for other parts of the world, but I know they don't teach us that in America. Like 1 + 1 = 2. That. So I had to really step back at my lowest point. I'm talking about the lowest point in my life. I'm like, oh, like, do I even want to be here? Kind of, I had to get to that point. And I had to basically do that inner work. Like, I can't expect to do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. What am I doing wrong? Because that's literally the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So I'm like, all right, obviously this path is not working. I have a science degree. I graduated top of my class. I had a storied career, but why am I not in the place I need to be financially? Why am I in this relationship? And we don't talk enough about relationships in business, because whatever relationship you're in, whether it's a sexual relationship, whether it's a business partner, it does affect the money that you make. So I just had to basically sit down and be like, I'm going to change all of this, and I'm going to do something different. So yeah, I just dropped everything. I was like, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to learn everything I can about it. I'm not going to let anybody get in my way. And I just became disciplined. If you want to be successful in this industry, you want to be successful in any industry, you have to be disciplined, and you have to constantly ask yourself, the steps that I'm making on a daily basis, does that lead to the end goal? But a lot of us don't want to ask that question because they know that they're BSing. If you want to buy a house, but you're spending, $1,000 a week eating out, what's the likelihood that you're going to have the down payment? Stuff like that. Things that I find common sense now, people struggle with. But I guarantee you guys, if you get that kind of mindset down pat, you'll get anything you want.
How do you know when you're taking those steps that they're going to be in your direction? Because, you don't really know, you want to go here, but is there an indicator that that you're like, these steps are getting me, I think I'm on the right path?
Yeah. So I plan everything. I write out what I want because words have power. So I write out everything I want. And then I write out in 10 steps. Okay, I'm going to do this, that. And then if it leads to the end step, then I'm like, okay, this is the right plan. If I'm writing out the plan and something is not making sense, then I revise it. It is not difficult. We make it difficult because we want to come up with excuses. We are the most excuse-filled generation I have ever encountered. It is not difficult, guys. 1 + 1 always equals 2. It's math. So and you will feel it in your heart. Not everything is, technical. You will feel it. Things will come into place. I always tell people, if you put a key in a lock and it doesn't easily turn, try another door. If you're on the right path, you'll just see stuff falling in place. It's crazy. I think everybody watching this can agree, where you're like, man, I just needed that. So I took this step and bam, it landed right in my lap. How many of us can have said that? I just said that yesterday. Something just landed right in my lap. I'm like, wow, I just asked for that. But that's because I took those actionable steps for that to happen. You can't say, oh, I want to be rich, and you're watching Netflix all day in bed, you're not doing anything, not working towards your business. But I guarantee you, if you want to get to that end goal, just start. That's the first step. Just start. Just start and research and write it down.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you're a mother of how many kids?
I have 2 children.
What's the most important thing?
Most important thing, being a mother? All right. So I could answer it. What's the most important thing? I think I want to teach my children.
Okay.
Or because
yes, take them both.
Okay.
Because that's different. It's one thing to teach your children. That's not necessarily being a mother, because a dad can do that too.
That's true.
So answer them both.
All right. So I think my number one goal as a mother is to make sure that my children are independent, and that they can take care of themselves. I am anti-job.
Tell us about job. Tell us about the job.
Job is slavery. I never want a job. Why would I get a job? Might as well spit my food.
Right. Or have them spit in your food.
Yeah, what's that? I don't want to. If you talk to my children, they'll say, oh, my mom wants me to start a business. They don't even have to do taxes, but you're going to have a business in my house. You're going to have a business. You have to start those children off young. Had my parents did that with me, I would probably be a billionaire right now with my mind. I've always been smart, but I just didn't have anyone to guide me like that. My children are lucky, and they will tell you, they're like, oh, I want to be like my mom, because my children do not remember seeing me get dressed in a uniform to go to work. Oh, well, I can't spend time with you. I'm with my children all day. My daughter is a fencer. She's an art college. She's 12. She's in art college. My son, he gets to, he's in an Air Force camp. They get to have experiences that I never got to have. And what they see me doing? They see me doing things like this, consulting, doing interviews. They see me helping people. They see me employ people. So I'm like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to start a business and you're going to become a money printer. I said, because that's what I am. I said, I print money with my mouth. I was like, and now a lot of people have that talent.
Say that again.
I was like, I print money with my mouth. And I'm like, not a lot of people have that talent. That's what makes me different. That's what makes people like me and Mark different, is that we can create money out of thin air. It's magic. I don't have to ask anyone for money. I don't have to go get government assistance. I can take care of everything. So if I can imbue my children with anything, is if you can't count on anyone, you can count on yourself. So that if you do that by starting a business, I say start a cleaning business, start a biohazard. I don't care. I was service industries, which taxes is in the service industry, has been proven to create the most millionaires. Has been proven. So why would I tell my children, oh, I want you to go to college and sacrifice 12 years to become a surgeon? That was my path, actually, guys. I graduated top of my class. I was supposed to go to medical school, and I saw everything that was happening in the healthcare industry. And I was like, do I want to be a slave to student loans? Do I want to be? And then because I'm a slave to these student loans, I got to have the lifestyle to match. Because I'm a doctor, I got to have this big house that I really don't want to afford. And then now I have to work 24-hour shifts at a hospital. And because of the new insurance regulations, I'm spending more time with paperwork than with the actual patient.
So what would you say then? Because the dilemma is, let's say I want to heal people. I want to be a doctor. I want to do that, but I know that I can't really create generational wealth going through college, having student loans, and then all the liability insurance that goes with it. How would you tell somebody, hey, here's how you do that, but here's how you build your wealth?
That's a complex question. So I'm a natural healer as well. I went into the healthcare industry because I really like to help people. But you will come to a point where you're going to have to make a really tough decision. And that decision for me was, am I going to sacrifice myself? Am I going to sacrifice my youth and spending that time with my children to maybe accomplish that goal? It's kind of like if you're up in a trade, a few $1,000, you should take profit. So in my case, I took profit and I left and I pivoted. And I just did something else. I still heal people and I still help people. I help people where they actually need it, in their banks. I let the doctors do what they do, but I get immense satisfaction from my career because I help doctors. I help lawyers. I help all these people. They have me on speed dial because I get to contribute to society by making sure that they can keep doing what they do. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. Now, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, I'm not saying you shouldn't be. I'm just saying that I put a price on my time. And when I did the math, the time did not make sense for me.
It's still a job.
It's still a job. It's high stress. I'm pushing 40. I don't feel like I am.
It's high risk.
Yeah, like my friends, I have friends who are surgeons. Let me tell you, we all went into that. We were Ronald E. McNair scholars. We were the cream of the crop. And when I see them, they're like, oh, I want to do what you're doing. They're so miserable because you have to stick with it. You have $500,000 in student loans. You have $1 million house. You have the prestige. You have your family's pressure. And let me tell you, when I decided not to do that, I got a lot of crap. I got a lot of crap with my then partner, who was my children's father, because he thought he was going to be married to a doctor. I got a lot of crap from my family, or you're wasting your talent, and I was like, I don't care, because I see the writing on the wall, and I want to live a lifestyle where I don't have to work. I think convincing children that they have to work every day for 5 days a week, I think it's the biggest scam ever.
Huge.
I think it's the biggest scam ever. You are not born to work all day and make someone else rich. That is not your dean in life. I don't care what career you're in. That is unnatural. But that's why they have to convince you that is natural all the time. If you notice, when you go to work, you got HR on you.
Well, it takes you 12 years of indoctrination to get there. After you graduate, I had 12 years of being told I'm a good citizen.
Exactly. And it took probably 10 years for me to unlearn all of that. The unlearning part was the biggest thing for me. Like, because I felt like I will feel guilty. Like, wow, I just made $10,000 today. And I'm laying in bed watching TV. I felt guilty. And then I had to question myself. I feel guilty about that. I'm a good mother. I don't need to be on food stamps. I get to homeschool my children. And that's another reason why I homeschool my children, because I didn't want my children being influenced by all those lies in school. So I was like, no, we're homeowners. You're going to be a business owner. If they want to go on a trip, we can go to NASA. If we want to go on vacation, we fly to Puerto Rico. I wanted them to have that freedom. I don't even make my children get up at a certain time every day. And people, they're like, well, you need to teach them discipline. I'm like, they are disciplined. My daughter finished her grades with an A+ 2 months earlier than her counterparts in public school. With an A+ and is an art college. I was like, if that's not discipline, what is it? I was like, she's a top fencer here in the South. I'm like, that's nothing but physical chess. You know how smart you have to be a foil fencer? And a
physical chess at like flash speed.
Yes.
Oh, it's over. It's over. Yeah. I used to do sword stunt work in Hollywood, and it's a very different thing. It's all very slow because you have to be able to see it. And one day we had a scene where there was fencing. They wanted fencing, and they brought in fencers, and they had to fire them because they're like, "Oh, we'll fence. Okay, action. It's over." And they're like, oh, "What happened?" And they're like, well, we did our thing. And they're like, we didn't see anything. We'll do it again. They did and they're like, well, can you slow it down? And they're like, yeah, good. It's over. Like, yeah, so they ended up hiring us, and we're like, okay, stupid stuff.
Yeah, because they wanted you to do the little splash.
Yeah, right. Doesn't make any sense. But like, if you ever see that, and the kind of mental acuity that you have to have is only going to take your kids' future ahead, because they're like, oh, I'm in a negotiation with somebody in finance 20 years from now. She's going to go, I'm already 15 moves ahead of you.
Exactly. We have to, my whole point as being a mother was to basically make a super kid. Like, I wanted someone who could, if she walked into a car dealership, just simple things that will affect her in her everyday life. If the salesperson is trying to rip you off with a predatory interest rate, we need our children to know about consumer laws when it comes to their money. If anyone's in any finance groups, you will see people ask simple questions. I'm like, how come they don't know that? Because they wasn't taught this in school. Their parents didn't know. So their parents are buying furniture from Rent-A-Center. So what do? They buy furniture from Rent-A-Center. They're paying, $10,000 for a sofa set that's worth $750 at most.
That you could get on Facebook Marketplace for $3.
Exactly. But it's, and I don't shame these people. It's just because the system is not by accident, guys. The system is on purpose.
What's the purpose of the system?
The purpose of the system is to keep you in mental and physical bondage.
To what end? Why would they do that?
Because they need somebody to scrub their toilets. That's why there is a 1%. That is why there is a 99%. The system doesn't work if everyone is educated. or if everyone knows themselves.
So what happens if everybody's educated and has their own business?
The system collapses. And
then what?
Who knows? Hopefully I'm not here.
Yeah.
I'll be gone by then, guys. I would have sold everything and dipped.
Right.
Because it will be anarchy.
Well, it could be anarchy, or it could be 1776 without the slavery. But 1776, where everybody's free, everybody's generally rich compared to where they were in England. It
just enslaved us so much, even with the taxes. It's kind of like the reason why I got into taxes was like, well, either I'm going to fight them or I'm going to join them. Because like right now, I'm paying $20,000 a year property taxes.
Yeah. I get people on TikTok all the time talking about, oh, well, tax is voluntary. And I'm like, yes, tax is voluntary, but that's not what you mean. That's not what it means.
Let me tell you how voluntary taxes are.
Here we go.
If you own a house, don't pay them property taxes and see what's going to happen. Because I will be on the courthouse steps on the first Tuesday of the month bidding on your shit.
I'll pick it up for $10,000. Thanks so much for your volunteering.
Look, I was just there at the DeKalb County auction last month, and I wound up leaving because I guess people had to file bankruptcy just to pay these huge tax bills to save their homes. And there was an investor there. He was like, "Oh yeah, the minimum bid now, the max." He's like, "You have to come here with $100,000." These corporations like BlackRock, they take advantage of people who don't pay their taxes. If taxes were voluntary, investment groups like that wouldn't exist. They wouldn't exist, but because they exist because there is a need for them to exist. That's what I mean about questioning everything. You have to question everything. Does 1 + 1 = 2?
Right. And what a lot of people say is, well, taxes are unconstitutional. And I guess for me, I believe that's true. Having fought the IRS and tried to bring them down in the Federal Reserve for 15 years, that's true. But the fact of the matter is, the only thing people want to argue about with the Second Amendment is their guns, but that's a very small part of that. The rest of it is, hey, we have a responsibility to bring down tyrannical law. And if everybody thought that, taxes are not supposed to be levied. There was no tax in 1913.
Sure wasn't.
But everybody's like, oh, well, I guess something should be done, but it's not legal. And they'll say it on Facebook. Dude, the only way that it's illegal is that if we say it is, and we say to go to all the representatives or march on the Capitol or whatever that is, it doesn't have to be guns. It can be the normal system and say, we want that brought down. And they would actually bring it down if 10% of the population said we want it brought down. But nobody will.
Because it'll never happen because it's as much as our representatives and government talk about welfare and everything, the real welfare recipients are them.
Say that again.
As much as our representatives in Washington love to talk about welfare recipients, the real welfare recipients are them themselves.
Yes.
They need your money to live their lives. It's like a very complex pyramid scheme. They need your money so that they can eat their Japanese steak on our dime, so that they can afford their apartments, so that they can look down on us.
Well, here's the other thing. If they didn't take that money would stay with us, and it would break the system down because then everybody would have what they needed.
Yeah. Yeah. But then as soon as you start talking like that, then it's like, oh, communism, socialism. They start coming with some ism. And then, most people don't even understand these other types of governments. So they're like, oh my God, no, this is a democratic nation. You don't even understand what you study. You don't understand. You just repeating things that you learned in elementary.
You saw on CNN and Fox News.
Yeah, you don't even understand what you're saying.
People don't even realize that the democracy is not what America was. Democracy means that the elite rule. Mm-hmm. People don't realize that the elite give you the candidates and you vote on them. Republic. Let me tell you. A republic is what America used to be, but now it isn't. It's democracy. A republic is how we were set up. To the republic for which the flag stands, not the democracy for which the flag stands.
Oh, you don't choose the representatives in government. They're picked for you.
That's correct. That's a democracy. Here's
why do you think
Trump.
someone like me or Mark can't run for office and win?
Well, we could, but they don't want that.
No. They make the system so damn difficult.
Yeah. And then the best part is it's you against me. I'm a Democrat. You're a Republican. And how dare you? You voted for Biden. You voted. It's like, dude, it's not you against me. It's us.
We're all getting screwed through the same hole.
That's right. Ow. It's us against them. Let's get together, y'all.
No, but that's why it's so insidious with the mentality, that we're programmed with. And they start off in kindergarten. They literally start off. Yeah, they start off in kindergarten. You don't start programming someone when they're an adult. Why would they do that?
That's why everybody's up in arms about, the trends are being brought to the kids and gays and this weird, they're teaching sex education in 6th grade. Why are you surprised?
That's why if you want to really, your children are your biggest investment, in my opinion. If you really wanted to see some generational change, a generational shifts in your family, educate your children yourself. Educate them yourself. Also, because the things that they will teach you, and it's going to be subtle, very subtle in school. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, this is the belief system, but they are definitely influencing your children to think a certain way. So I just took that power away from them. I was able.
Say that again. You did what?
I took that power away from them.
Wow. That's profound. I did. You took the right, right? You have the right to raise your kid. And you said, no, I'm taking the elite's power away from my children because and what you're not saying, but I think you would agree with is true generational wealth is not had by making a bunch of money. And the Rockefellers found that out. So did the Kennedys. Because they're like, oh, we've got all this money. Yeah, but you didn't train your children right. Gone.
Then you have this whole generation of entitled brats who you sent to boarding school, who are learning this very antiquated mindset. The world is changing rapidly before our eyes, and I knew that if I had my children under my wings, that I could prepare them to boss other people's kids who are going to be raised in that way. You can't bullshit your way out of that type of education. You have, and it takes work. Do I miss having the middle of the day to myself? Yes. But once I got over that selfishness, then I was like, okay, I'm making the right decision. I have the most well-behaved children. I have expensive art on my walls. When you come in my house, you don't see any crayon marks on my walls. I'm like, look, we taking care of our stuff. This is our property. This is how we're going to act. Because I removed them from the influence of other brats in the school system. And the teacher brats. Yeah. And the teachers are brats. Yeah. Because they hate their jobs because they're making $40,000 a year. Shout out to teachers because you're doing a job that I don't want to do. But check it out. You've got something what you're not saying, I think is maybe very important because I think everybody would resonate with what you're saying. Like, oh yeah, well that sounds good. I want to take the elite's power away from my children. I want to do all that, but I have a 9-to-5 job. So what did you have to shift so that you had the availability, time, financial, spiritual, physical to be able to do that? So the first step in that plan, was, what type of business can I create that I can control my time? Whoever controls time, you hold, you literally, the world is in your hands. Say that again in a concise way. That's the most powerful thing. I'm going to steal that for the next 30 years. Whoever controls time. Say that again. Whoever can control their time controls the world. Period. And say it the other way, where whoever controls your time. Whoever controls your time controls your world. No bigger truism. The only non-renewable resource on the planet. And we just hand it over. I make it my business to buy other people's time. The reason I can be on this call for however long, is that I have bought other people's time. There's someone checking my email. There's someone who was interfacing with my tax clients or my tax offices. So I say, hey, I'm going to log on at 10 a.m. or 11, or I'm off on the weekends. They're working.
And now you have time to do the most important thing for generational wealth in your case, which is train your kids.
I purchase other people's time so that I can spend time with my children and prepare them to buy other people's time.
That's the most powerful, non-taxable investment strategy on the planet.
And it's paying me back dividends. It's paying me back dividends.
Tax-free dividends.
Tax-free dividends. You know, the time that I get to spend with my children, reading to them, doing math, teaching them taxation. My child knows how to do a tax return. Definitely.
Your kid probably do better taxes than the folks at H&R Block.
Why? I'm like, why are we not teaching? I think every child should know how to read a 1040 person. It's not even that difficult. They could play Roblox. They could play all these games, but they don't know how to navigate tax software. Tax software is easier. I can't even play a video game, but I can do mortgage interest deduction. Because I'm like, look, even if you don't want to start this business, I need you to be able to know how to run it.
Yeah.
I was like, because I said, if you know how to do this, you'll never be broke. You could always, people will always find value in what you have to say. If you know how to do taxes, if you know about tax law, if you know how to exploit it, people will always want you around. Because they're like, oh, Lucy's valuable because Lucy knows how to she knows how to make money and she knows how to keep the money safe. People always find value with me around. You know, I don't even have to run people down. They come run me down because of the value. So yes, buying other people's time has been the greatest investment. And it's not just my greatest investment as far as generational wealth, it's also for my health. I have friends who work corporate and they look, I'm almost 40 years old, guys. They look like grandmothers. And that is not by accident. They literally suck the youth out of you because of the stress. Then you're like, oh my, then you're sedentary and you're eating fast food and your hair's falling out and you're graying. And I was like, I just don't want to have that type of life. I work on the beach, guys. It's like right now I'm building a house, so I can't leave Atlanta. But yeah, like in a couple of months, I was like, oh, before tax season hit, we need to spend about 2 or 3 weeks on the beach somewhere. And I can literally take my laptop while my children are playing in the ocean and I can work from the beach. Why wouldn't I want to have this type of lifestyle? And
why wouldn't you want to teach how your kids how to do that?
Yeah, my children. You think after the childhood my children have, they can go get a job if they want, but they're not going to last long. The first time someone says, "Oh, you know," because my daughter, she has natural hair, she has an afro, right? The first time someone says, "Oh, that hair is unprofessional," what do you think my daughter's going to do? She's going to be like, "You know what? I'm not even going to give you a 2-week hoe. I'm out of here." You know. I'm raising people who are naturally resistant to being told what to do. And that's on purpose on my part. I don't want them to be like, yes, I'm going to work hard and I'm going to please this dictator. Yeah. That's crazy. The fact that I thought that was normal for so long is crazy. So no, we're buying. I'm just going to continue to buy. As long as I buy time, I'm always going to get a good return. So that's all my whole strategy. Whether it's a beauty product, if you're entrepreneur, a beauty entrepreneur on here, whether you're buying time by building a team with software, find your lane, stick with it, and keep leveraging. And you will get the result that you're looking for.
You need to write a book.
I should.
On that, just that, buying time. You know, who controls your time controls you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely. And I experienced it. Oh my goodness, I have to get to work. How many times have we said that? We're in the car. Oh my God, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. And when they get in, what do? They reprimand you.
Yeah. Well, they should. You have a contract. You got to show up. I mean,
yeah, they come in. I pay you $50 an hour.
Oh, well, wouldn't that be great? $15 an hour.
At this point, I'm so ruined. You couldn't pay me anything per hour.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Because
I've never had a job.
Yeah, when you get out of that slave mentality, how you know you've changed is that you'll start looking at money in an abstract way. That's how you know. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Abstract. That means you will take the emotional burden of money away from the actual money. As in, if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're like, okay, my rent is $2,000 a month, but that's about the average here in Atlanta, about $2,000 a month. I have this car payment. Oh Lord, I got to work these 2 jobs just to make this money to pay for necessities, to pay for food. So you have attached trauma to the money versus me. I have removed the emotion of trauma, of the burden of need from the money.
So what is money for you now?
Money is just it's just freedom. Money feels good. Money to me is pleasurable. And money to me is time. I take my money and I leverage it by buying more time. That's what money is to me. It's just another vehicle to buy more time. So in a way, I will live forever because I'm buying time and I'm creating businesses that my great grandchildren will talk about. So I'm purchasing time in the future. I'm purchasing time so it can create more time for time I'm never even going to see.
That's true generational wealth. You're literally buying the future time.
Yes. So money to me is just a tool. But most people don't know how to work a tool. They don't even know how to work a lawnmower, much less money. So if you look at money as a tool instead of just this disappearing asset, you'll go further with money. If you look at money like, okay, I'm going to start a car business. So you can spend that money and go get new breasts, or the new breasts going to make you more money. It might be a stripper. I don't know. Could make you more money, but for the general population, probably not true. But I
don't know. Maybe people want to see me on the pole. Maybe I don't know.
I'll throw you some money, Mark.
Yeah, you'll be the only one there going, here.
Shut up.
You're my friend.
Don't make me choke.
Exactly.
But in my case, you can buy a service bureau for about $3,000, right? Yep. A whole service bureau. And you can sell the software for $500 a license. You sell 6 softwares, you made the money back, and then you get residuals from every client that those tax companies process.
And then those people can sell the software.
And then those people can sell software. You see how that works? Yeah. You see how that works?
You're literally leveraging people's time and their sales.
Yeah, because right now they're doing taxes. I haven't done any taxes today, and I'm not going to. I'm not going to do any taxes for the rest of the year. But there will be constantly tax returns being processed. So as a bureau, I'm getting a cut every single day. So if I go out like today, later on, take my child to the movies because I can. I'm going to take her out to dinner because I can. I'm going to make the money for that by the time I get out my car in about a couple hours. The money will be there waiting for me because it's being made as we speak in the just out of thin air because I've leveraged time. So yes.
How hard is it to become a service bureau?
It's not difficult. You just got to have some money and be ready to use that money to buy time. But see, a lot of people have a lot of emotional attachment to money. They'll spend $3,000 on a purse because they like how they feel when they wear it. They like the prestige. They like the treatment they get. Oh, she must have money because she has this purse. Let me tell you, I don't even own any because I don't care. I drive a Ford Explorer with a dent in it. I ran into a wall going to the dermatologist. That was my fault. That was my fault. Can I buy a sports car? Absolutely. But I decided to take my money and invest it in my tax business. And then after my tax business is built up, so I invested money in real estate. Real estate's probably one of the safest places because depending on where you buy it. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm in Atlanta. I kind of predicted that it was going to increase. Now, can it decrease? Yes. But you know what's not going to decrease? Renters. So if I was like, I'm not going to purchase property in the HOA neighborhood. I'm not going to purchase a townhome or anything like that. I'm going to purchase property that could be income producing, because even if the real estate decreases, the rent is continuously going up.
Now, let me ask you this, just for my own satisfaction. Mm-hmm. If you buy a house, are you just going to keep it in your name?
Absolutely not.
What would you do with it?
You want to put the house on a corporate, you can get out your name, trust or something. You can do something.
Right.
You know, and that's probably a whole nother conversation about trust. If you really want to make sure that the government can't even take something away, put it in trust. Yeah, I know a millionaire here where he puts everything in irrevocable trust. Well, even though, which I've always thought was crazy, I'm like, because you can't pull the property back out if it's yeah.
But that's like, the purpose of a trust, is to hold. It's not to do business.
He was like, I don't care. He was like, they can't touch it. He's like, I make too much money. He's like, they already tried to come after me. He said, but I didn't have any money that they could access because everything was in the trust. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you would get better tax benefits by not having it in your name. And then you can also exploit the loan system that way too. So, you know, they say, hey, you can't have interest in a property for 3 years to use, you know, FHA. Just take it out your name for 3 years. And then in 3 years, you can rinse and repeat. That's why you have people, they like, man, how did they get 26 houses? Because they exploit the system. Now, that system may not work for you. I'm not saying it's a one size approach with it. You know, you will have to definitely, you know, talk to your accountant, you know, talk to your lawyer, and you need to come up with something that's going to work with your personal situation. But in general, you should not have property in your name. I will say that.
You should not. There is no reason, unless you have a loan with a bank and you had to get the loan. Yeah. But you might, I don't know if you know this, or you might maybe saw the post about in 2017 that Freddie and Fannie are like, it's okay, put it in an LLC. We're not going to call it due. Oh yeah.
I was like, say less.
Yeah.
I was like, got you on that. But yeah, I wouldn't have it in my name. That's how probably one of the number one ways they rob you of generational wealth too. Like when I go to those tax auctions, it's because it's in probate.
Yeah, it's sitting in probate and nobody paid the tax, and now the minimum bid is what's missing on the default of the tax, $10,000, $12,000.
I was looking at, it was $8,000. The house is worth $350,000, and because I had leveraged so much time, I had $8,000 in my pocket.
Yeah,
because somebody else had made it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that's probably the number one. That's what kind of terrified me when I started looking at investment property. I kind of I went down a rabbit hole, and I'm like, hold on. This in when this one case, the father bought the home, paid it off, had one child, left that it was in his name, left that property. He died unexpectedly, so you know it went to this daughter. He didn't teach her anything about finance, and then it wound up being sold at auction. That was a heartbreaking thing to see. Had he had it in a trust, then it would have avoided all of that. But yeah, you have to be really careful when you buy property. Can't how many people do we know that, you know, my grandparents had a farm. Where is it now? Oh, it was sold at auction.
Yeah. One of my clients in the last couple of weeks came to me, and his father put the house in a trust, in a tax-free trust in Minnesota. Didn't realize that in the state of Minnesota, tax-free trusts only last for 21 years. He outlived it, went to probate, auction steps, gone. So if you're going to do a trust, you got to really look at your state law to know how long those trusts last, because they are not in perpetuity.
Wow.
You got to double check. It doesn't matter if it's irrevocable or spendthrift or whatever. It's the state law goes, that's how long they're. Now, a lot of states will go out to 365 years, 100 years, but some states are 50. And you're like, oh, I put this in my trust when I was 30. Okay, yeah, but now you're 81. Ain't nobody telling you that.
You know what? I'm always the top. I give credit where credit's due. Guys, I ain't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I'm not. So when I hear knowledge like that, I don't pretend that I know everything, because now after this call, I'm going to run and see what. Go look at
ChatGPT and just go, what is the term? What's the statute of limitations on the length of a trust in most states? And it'll say, oh, most states are over 100 years. Yeah, but which ones aren't? You kind of have to drill down, as you always do with ChatGPT. Never take the first response. You're like, and what's missing? Oh, well, that's true. You're right. This. I'm like, little bitch. So, but yeah, and I was like, are you sure? Because I have a client that just said, yeah. I have a client that did this. How do you recommend that? Oh, well, that's true. Thanks for the clarification. Actually, Minnesota is okay. Great. Thanks.
Yeah. You got to make them feel like they're important, like they found something themselves.
Awesome. Right. Well, I mean, this has been such a treasure trove of knowledge and information, and just like a treatise on how to live a great life, create financial sobriety for your children, be a great parent, create generational wealth, and how important it is to have taxes as a part of your structure, whatever that is, and train everybody to get out of it. JOB.
I will end this to say that if you are an American citizen and you pay taxes, you're really doing yourself a disservice by not learning about taxes. I think if you pay taxes here and you have a job here, you should take some time, at least if even if it's 10 or 15 minutes every day, or even 10 to 15 minutes every week, take some time to learn about taxes, because you don't want to give all the power away, even to me, even to your accountant.
It's 30% of your income. You're just going to hand it over?
Yes. They're like, well, I didn't know. Why don't you know? You should, everybody who's listening or watching this, you should learn about taxes. Because every situation is going to be different. How I do my taxes is going to be different from how Mark does his taxes. How you do your taxes is going to be different from how, how your mother does her taxes. But if you empower yourself with knowledge, then you can see some real change in your life.
There's your soundbite. Boom. Thank you so much for being with us on the Finance Rebellion, and have a good weekend.